All right, man. Peace. Welcome back. Secret House Against the Sonic Cloth. You guys know Tokyo-based hip hop art and culture conversations here on the channel. Today we're doing something a little special, a little different. As you can see, we are recording non-locally, like with the homie L Spade is back, and also, hey yo, I know that you go by Scattershot, but also I see your name here. So what should I call you? Just as a
Jamil.
Jamil. All right.
Yeah.
So we're with Jamil, the host and curator of the Sonic Cloth podcast. All of us together today are going to be discussing the new Armand Hammer album. We sell diabetic test strip.
Diabetic test
Huh?
strips.
It's We Buy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Excuse me. Dang, look
Get
at
the
me.
name right, Mega. Gosh.
Hey,
Fucking up the name of the
I get
album right at the
it.
beginning.
I get it wrong all the time. I'm glad you told me, because otherwise, like, the video would have had that on there too. But yeah, 15 songs, 52 minutes. It dropped a couple weeks back. We wanted to give ourselves some time to listen to this album, as I think is better to kind of digest Armand Hammer's work like that. Before we get into it, Jamil, can you please tell us a little bit about the Sonic Cloth, where to find you, and what it is that you do?
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks again, y'all, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I do a podcast called the Sonic Cloth Podcast. Obviously, we linked up for a 3+ hour Woods extravaganza discography behemoth episode. But I just basically do musical rabbit hole deep dives all over the place. So my last episode was that Woods one, and then the one I'm editing right now is like it literally titled Weirdo Black Metal. With this dude John Rosenthal. So I kind of just like hit an episode, do a topic, and then like see how many people I can scare the shit out of on the next one, and like send them like flying away from the podcast, like never to return ever again. And then the people who stay are just the ones who are like the music maniacs. So that's what I'm doing. That's the approach.
The music maniacs are our people, man. I feel a deep sense of camaraderie with your project, and also even politically. So I'm glad to have you as a comrade and as a homie, that we can share these type of thoughts on music that means a lot to us. And yeah, I love the attention that we've been getting for that deep dive. We got some really cool shares. I think you showed us that Backwoods reshared the project, as well as some of the producers cropped the picture of it and reshared some of it, and just our comment section has been really lively, and they all enjoy that, because I think Woods, Elucid, Armand Hammer, and everybody within that kind of biosphere or ecosphere of underground music, they really like to talk and think about this and hear other people's thoughts about the music. So let's get into the album some. This is Armand Hammer's, I think it's their 7th full-length project, following up Haram, which is the project they did with Alchemist, which was our first review that we did on Secret House Against. It permanently fixed Spade as the guy on the left, and it's been about three years since that. Maybe
it's been a minute since that the one came out.
It feels like less long to me.
Agreed.
Yeah, I guess they're always on each other's projects, so every song they're on together feels kind of like an Armand Hammer endeavor. But this one's a bit different. How many times did you guys give this album a spin before this conversation?
I think I've listened to it 4 times.
4? Baby numbers, man. You got to boost those numbers up.
Yeah.
I gave it a run of 2 full runs, and then I gave it sporadic listens to the ones that I really wanted to digest. So I would say, all in all, maybe 3.
Okay. I didn't do an official count or an official number, but I feel like I'm pushing like 10 full listens. I've had it on in the background while I was cleaning. I've rocked it with headphones a few times as I'm commuting to work and back, and also just here at the house with headphones on, trying to figure it out. So
I think I gave myself like a bit of selection paralysis, because like the day it came out, there were like 4 albums that I was really excited about that dropped on the same day. Blonde Redhead put out an album that day. Hadu Nemuri put out an album that day.
That new Drake?
Yeah, apparently a new Drake album must have come out. I wouldn't know anything about that. Noah,
that was yesterday,
album on streaming. One Tricks Point never put out an album that day, and I just didn't listen to anything that day. I think I listened to the Noname album again that day. I was just like, I'm going to listen to something comfortable. I don't want to.
Damn good album.
Right now.
Jet hit me in the morning, was like, I can't do it. Like I'm just gonna, I'll keep it moving.
I still haven't listened to that Blonde Redhead.
Yeah, the One Tricks is great, but okay, shoot, man. I don't know. One thing that I think a lot of people are trying to figure out and digest is the album title. You guys have any thoughts on that? I think with Armand Hammer, kind of so much of it is intentional that every little piece counts. And this album title in particular, I love how it's working out for people. With Haram, Shrines, Paraffin, Race Music, and Rome, it's kind of a little bit more, I think, on the nose for people to be like, okay, yeah, Rome, America, civilization,
so
Rom.
I'm gonna say this, like, I know we're gonna get into the album soon, but this was the album that addressed a lot of problems I had with Armand Hammer the first time I listened to it. This may be the album for anybody to step into listening to Woods and Elucid. This album was easily digestible. And I will say this, rappers sometimes fall in this trap of being dumb people who try to sound smart. And then you got like smart rappers who try to sound dumb. But initially, when I first heard these guys, they were smart rappers who sounded smart, but they almost sounded too smart for the average person, which made it come off kind of pretentious. But this album, oh my God, my dog, you did it. You bridged the gap between where the common man can listen to it and you can also get your points of views in without sounding so overly over the top. Not saying that was their intent, but this album, I was like, good job, guys. You did it. You won me. You did it.
I was gonna say that, like, maybe my reading of the title was like a degree of like skepticism towards, but also sort of like an acknowledgement of the like global or the American medical system in the light of the pandemic and everything like that. Just obviously you have these like disparities with like who has access to healthcare, particularly among Black people. Diabetes is a real problem among Black Americans. For some reason, it really related to me back to the last Parliament album, like George Clinton Parliament. He put out an album a couple years ago called Medicaid Fraud Dog. Yeah, double G and, and Dog. Yeah. And I think I remember reading because Clinton is from Kannapolis, North Carolina, which is famous for like NASCAR, and like one of the massive pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer or something are based there, and like a huge part of that city's industry is rooted in pharmaceuticals and the medical industry. And it kind of, to me, they like, for some reason that I just kept thinking about this album when I thought about that title. Word. Just the idea of like, if you have, these test strips that maybe fell off the back of a truck somewhere, like this is something that we can take from the broader, medical community and right. give to our own.
Well, like the resale market for diabetic test strips is definitely the result of, pharmaceutical companies and their greed and such. But like, with the title and just like all of their music, it's a bunch of undertones and overtones that like are tied or a key to their philosophical and ideological through lines. And like this is something that's so like seemingly mundane but absolutely dystopian, punctuating a means of survival on the outskirts of orthodox markets. And to me, it's just like it hits particularly close because the people who are reselling these diabetic test strips are not some community-based do-gooders or necessarily functioning off of mutual aid. They're just grasping at the possibility of reducing their own suffering by maneuvering smarter ways to get money through the market. And when you think about kind of what it is that Armand Hammer does, they are rappers. They are the same type of cats who are not opposed to getting money as a way of reducing their suffering. They're very clearly trying to make money with their art and through their art and successful in ways. But it's also that indirect kind of unorthodox market that is a disgusting side of, you know, the capitalist, you know, not even just the capitalists, but just an approach to trying to make money outside of these kind of elite positions of having monopolies over the markets. You know, they don't have monopolies over anything in the music industry, but they're finding these kind of ways to subvert. And the title to me is very subversive in a way. And I like, just, you know, I think a lot of people that first heard the title, they weren't even aware that there was this kind of market for buying diabetic test strips and reselling them. But, you know, I think it's a larger thing in more urban cities.
I think it also does relate back to the pandemic in the sense that this isn't a medication. This isn't a curative or a treatment. You know, this is a test strip, which kind of, you know, goes back to the pandemic where, you know, a lot of people weren't getting vaccinated and a lot of people, but, you know, getting those test kits was like a real problem for a long time. And, you know, just diagnosing the illness was a higher priority than actually seeking out like any kind of cure.
I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but there's a bar. I just want to get this in because of the COVID thing. I lick the plate clean, free COVID test. Stress will mutate your genes. We buy diabetic test strips,
right?
And we'll probably circle back to that
for sure
bar and that verse because it's amazing. But
we've frozen. Are we?
It might be
us and Spade are also not moving.
Hey, I'm moving though.
You're moving.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess you guys.
Okay.
Why y'all not moving? Can I say I don't think it's that complex. I think the album title was genius because it's a metaphor of America, dude. It's like, yo, anything you need to live is gonna cost you. And yo, anything that costs, you can flip. And that was a theme or through this whole album, man. Like they touched on like flipping drugs and everything on this album. That's why I say the common man can really digest this. They made a lot of common themes.
Right.
A lot of complex themes common, reachable to the common man. So, like I said, love this album, but I know we'll get into that a little bit later.
I mean, basically, you with your simple 2 sentences said exactly what I was getting at, and just with less flowery language. You know, the kind of horrors of everyday poverty and shit, right? Yeah. But yeah, I fucking last question before we get into the album. Did you guys listen to any of the singles that dropped before the album came out, or did you wait on that?
I listened to the first single, the JPEG Mafia produced joint, the Woke Up and Asked Siri How I Was Going to Die, because I couldn't ignore that title.
I think Trauma Mike might have been the first single.
Maybe Trauma Mike also. I only listened to the Asked Siri.
And then there was Woke Up and Asked Siri, and then there was the LP joint was the final one.
Word. I'm just pressing buttons here to see if I can get us to stop being.
Yeah, y'all are still frozen.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe we should just
hold on. Let me pause.
We'll just hit stop cam and start again.
Okay. Yeah.
Down here.
Nope. All right. Well, maybe I'll just put some. I don't know. Let me. Let's finish up this conversation about hearing.
You're back.
Oh yes. There we go. Yeah. See, this is why I get nervous.
It was buffering.
Yeah. Yeah. My internet be kind of trash and shit, but yeah, I think I listened to I couldn't stop myself from listening to the LP joint. Yeah, the gods might be crazy. The gods may, which is the song that was produced by El Producto, and I was just so excited for that because you know, a huge fan of LP for a long time, and I really wanted to hear some of his music without Killer Mike on it, and yeah, it was good shit. Did you listen to any of them, Spade?
I was too busy making a song with Crutchy Black and DJ Paul, so I didn't do it, man. But nah, I was like pleasantly surprised when this album came out, and I was, you know.
Will that be out by the time this episode goes out?
No, it'll be out in the beginning of November. But yeah,
okay. Well, if you're watching this, then
in the studio,
DJ L Spade on all streaming services.
I want to remind you, DJ L Spade, on your top 10 list of albums this year, I don't want to hear your own.
I can't put me. I know.
Yeah, that's against the rules, bro. Anyways, let's get into the general thoughts on the album. Spade, you were saying earlier how you felt like this album is a pretty good entry point for people who are new to Armand Hammer. Can you kind of expand on why you feel that way?
I mean, I definitely can, because the first thing is the musicality on this album is undeniable. One thing I had about this genre of music is the lack of drums and everything being pronounced, but the beats slap on this jump. Like, you got some slappity bappers damn near on every track. You have like a magical pastiche of music that comes together to actually bring the themes together. I didn't even mind the samples in there because they all worked and they was on theme. Now, I will say one of the downsides of this album, I found myself wanting more bars at times. Like, sometimes the music comes in, it's a good intro, good setup, but you got like a minute before you even get to some bars. So at some point I was like, man, you know, I get what you're doing. It flows together, but I kind of wish I had some more bars in this. But the music and the landscape and the soundscape was done masterfully on this, man. You got some boom bap type drums, you got some drum and bass type drums, you even got some trap drums in this junk. And it just works. It works better, man, because you got something you can nod your head to, which actually brings you into the lyrics a little bit more. So that was great. And once again, the topics, I can draw a through line to this album, to the Armand Hammer album, and get the same themes.
You mean the Haram album?
Sorry. I always say that, the Haram album, and get the same themes. But on this one, like I said, it was way more digestible. I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying, dude. And I think we're getting to the point where this underground genre of music is becoming more mainstream, because in my opinion, they're setting themselves up to be mainstream artists. Like, this was the album to get the crossover, in my opinion. I'm like, okay, you guys are stepping out of the darkness into the mainstream, and this is going to really be the album that propels them there, in my opinion.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily becoming mainstream, but I do think this album is almost like a celebration of this kind of entire wave of underground music. It almost feels like something that's like leading the charge in a way, just because of the presence of how many features are on here. And I feel like it's particularly of note that, you know, halfway through the album, you've got an El Producto beat on there, you know, which obviously he is of that previous kind of generation of your
forefather
of that, you know, underground experimental Anticon, Def Jux era hip hop. But then, you know, all your features you've got on here, you've got backwards catalog people, you've also got you know, JPEG Mafia's on here, fucking Money Nicka from Soul Glow, Jungle Pussy, like Curly Castro. You know, there is a very kind of broad range of sounds of this kind of underground movement that are all over this record. It's a very diverse set.
Even Shabaka Hutchings is on this as well, who, you know, one of the great voices in jazz right now too.
I think Shabaka's all over this thing.
Yeah.
Which maybe we should talk a little bit about like what we know about like the production and how that was handled, because I think it's completely unlike and distinct from every other Armand Hammer album, right? Yeah. So like, this is an album that I think is really held up by its collaborators, and I know, you know, we can say that probably about every Armand Hammer release as well, but it's more than that. It's more than just like this beat creation and selection. There was a lot of live instrumentation, jam sessions that apparently were led by Elucid. And I have like the vinyl too, and on here there's like a list of all of the players on there.
Oh, okay.
And it's called the We Buy Diabetic Test Strip players. Shabaka Hutchings on woodwinds, Max, who's child actor, on keyboards, Addie Meyerson on bass, Hisham Barucha on drums, Abdul Hakim Bilal on guitar, Jane Boxall on marimba, and DJ Stitches on cuts. So I think a large portion of this material is just from these hours of jam sessions, and then they just sent that to like this like A-list of like producers, right? Including like JPEG's got 4 tracks on here. Yeah.
They got him a marimba player.
and you can hear it on several tracks, including some of the hardest shit on here too.
Yeah.
Marimbas.
Yeah.
You know, like that's one of the things that kind of surprised me about the album, because when I saw the production, the track listing with all the producers, I was like, oh, this has got to be more like it'll probably sound like a mixtape where it's obviously it's Armand Hammer raps, but beats, rapping, beats, rapping, beats, rapping. But there's a surprising amount of cohesion that goes into this album, considering all the production artists. It was something that I was expecting to be a bit more chaotic, but in probably more cacophonous at times, but man, they really managed to stick a vibe together. And on Spotify, they didn't list any. At least I didn't notice any of the the actual live instrumentation players listed with the production credits. And they do the production credits kind of different too, because like LP's track is like featuring LP. So I was like, oh, well, maybe he raps on this too, but it's just his beat. So I guess, something to do with how they do the payouts or whatever. But yeah, man, this album it was kind of interesting for me, because usually when I listen to an Armand Hammer album, I'm pulled in immediately. I'm like, wow, that track really hits me and it's really different. This one, it took me a little bit of a while to get into and kind of figure out what I was listening to. And it grew and changed like every time I listened to it. Jet, last night, what you said, you're like, I've listened to this album three times and it's a different album every time, right? I started to feel the same way. And the first 2 times I listened to it, I was like, oh man, I don't love this album. I love a few songs. A few of these songs are great. But then by the time I listened to it, got like the 4th listen, I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like more things started to kind of flourish for me, and I started to put it together in a different way. And I walked away from this album feeling like, wow, this is a wildly unique Armand Hammer album in the kind of, in their entire catalog. It's a bit of an outlier in a lot of ways, but yeah, I ended up loving, how many tracks is there? Fucking 16, 15 tracks. 14 of them I absolutely love now. When the first listen, I was like, I like 5 of these a lot. Now, like the only one I don't really care for is the Siri track.
Well, I think once again that goes back to one of the flaws I thought in the first Armand Hammer one. Well, the Haram album, the Haram album. I felt like first the cheat code to this album was they had multiple producers. The rest of the albums usually have like one producer and they just write it on out. So I think this gave them room to breathe and actually do something new because they had multiple producers on this track. But it gets into a dirgy theme in a lot of these albums for me, that is the same kind of beat, the same kind of way, and lack of drums, lack of energy. But this one doesn't fall into it. So when it first hit me, man, like opposite to you, Mega, I was
into the other albums, right? There's hella drums.
Yeah, okay. Not pronounced like this, but yeah. Okay.
I do agree, especially with JPEG Mafia on this album.
They went hard.
Whose music is so like bombastic compared to what we normally get from the Backwards catalog. There is like an explosiveness to this record. JPEG Mafia obviously is someone who skirts the underground and mainstream worlds. And kind of brings, there's trap drums and stuff on some of those tracks, right? And yeah, I think to an extent, I'm kind of with Spade in the sense that even though I think on a certain level, this is one of the more complex and difficult to put together albums, I think on like a very base listen, like you could play some of this stuff in a room full of people, and like people would dance to it, people would nod their heads to it, like whereas if you played something off Ethiops, you can't play No Hard Feelings in the club, right?
You can't.
This
I want to go to that club. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I want to go to that club.
I agree. I was like, there's drums on a lot of Armand Hammer stuff, and that's not one of the things I think about this album. It seems less transgressive and it seems less confrontational to its listener than a lot of the other albums. And I guess that speaks to kind of its accessibility and whether or not you could drop, most of these tracks in some coffee shop. Like I definitely agree with that. This album is just the musicality is something that I think that you could appreciate, even from a hip hop head position. This I like sample loops, I like 4/4 drums. You can appreciate from that position, but you can also listen to this and be like, wow, listen to, that fucking, I don't know, instrument in the background. Something's going on there, and it's got a lot of layers. It's got a lot of layers.
Do you guys think that there's? I hear a lot of traces. If we're talking about history of the Armand Hammer sound, I hear a lot of traces of shrines and brass on this. Not all the way through, but I'm picking up on some sonic similarities coming out of those 2 albums, and I know that for the 3 of us at least, Like we're all big fans of that particular era.
I think that, yeah, that kind of relates back to what I was saying earlier about this being almost like a celebration of the backwoods and its place in the broader underground hip hop landscape, because those two albums, especially Brass, you know, Brass was born from those sessions, right? Where it's like, oh, like we had so many friends around, More Mother was in the house, like we just had like an entire new project in us. And this album kind of feels like that to an extent. I don't know if like and this isn't something I really care to speculate on, but you know, obviously JPEG Mafia had beef with Armand Hammer for a while, or specifically had beef with Elucid, and he like disses them on LP. And maybe, you know, in squashing that beef, it was kind of like, well, you know, we should be combining our creative energies in a certain way, that kind of led to the creation of this record. And I wonder, you know, especially like you mentioned with these like jam sessions led by Elucid, is this album like an expansion of like a previous project, or the album taking on a different form? Even you know, this kind of reminds me of like Remain in Light by Talking Heads, which also started out as them just jamming songs off of Fear of Music, and then those songs would like slowly turn into entirely different songs and turn into a different project. And yeah, I get that feeling of like evolution and growth and collaboration that you get, especially on Brass, but also on Shrines.
One of the things that I notice is a central theme on this album is like time, memory, and fucking rappers. Is what are like three of the theme, like three central themes that I hear you know, reoccurring bars about on throughout the album. And time and memory are especially big components of Brass and More Mother's work. So I think that that's a pretty apt observation. What do you guys?
Phones too. Phones.
I was going to
communication are all over this album, not just like up bars wise, but also it's built in
song titles.
A decent amount of the production, song titles. Another thing I want to sneak in really quick because I want to know what you guys think. Album cover. I think it might be signaling something, because on the cover you got Woods covering up the bottom half of his face like he always does, right, with his hand. But you also got Elucid is now covering up part of the bottom of his face too, which he usually doesn't do, and he's wearing that mask too. Is it meaningful? I don't know, but this is the first Armand Hammer album to feature Woods and Elucid on the cover since their debut Race Music, which was released almost exactly 10 years ago. That album came out in October 22nd, 2013. So
with them sitting next,
might be something there.
One thing I also would think we should mention about the album cover is like, if you look very closely, and I don't think you have to look very closely, but you can see that Elucid's calves are fucking massive. This guy's got some calves, boy. You know what I mean? You know, like
one of the watermelons in there,
boy. Like, you know, one of the things.
Why he always wears shorts, bro?
Yeah.
He's a big brat.
I guess so, man. Because, you know, they say in bodybuilding competitions that black people, you know, we have higher calves, and so they judge our calves differently. So Ronnie Coleman was going up against Jay Cutler. You know, he was at a disadvantage, but I think Elucid might be able to, you know,
bridge that gap.
Bro, I was like, one of the first things I noticed about the cover was like, damn, that boy got some fucking ham hock fucking shit. Yeah, but yeah,
that's something real quick about this album. It's undeniable. I know you guys are Woods fans, but
don't do it, Spade.
Elucid out-rapped the hell out of Billy Woods on this album. He rapped circles around Woods, dog. Elucid gave him that work. I know it's not a competition, and y'all don't want to look at it as a competition, but Elucid gave Billy that work.
Hard disagree. I think they both went super hard, and from track to track, I might give one or the other the win.
Elucid got the win, dog.
Yeah. I knew you was going to say that. I had that on my bingo card. I had on my Spade bingo card. But yeah, I'm not sure, to go back to the phones, I'm not sure what that means, but it's definitely a central theme throughout the album. And I've enjoyed kind of listening to it for trying to pick up on what the hell that shit means, man. But you know, that's for me, and I know, Spade, you're not a particular fan of trying to, you know, dig deep and be an archaeologist of what these things are. But like, I think when you have artists like this, or even a Jay-Z, you can go to Jay-Z's album and kind of like pinpoint his growth as an artist and kind of certain themes and how they follow from album to album and callbacks. And I get a lot of that on this one. But two of the main joints that I was thinking kind of hit on was Shrines and the More Mother album. I just my overall thinking of this album is that I don't know if I feel that this is like a breakout album that is going to get them more mainstream popular success, because I do still feel like it's a difficult listen for most more mainstream leaning type of cats. It didn't quite hit that, just because of the rhyme style. It didn't quite hit that fucking JPEG Mafia level of like Coachella co-headliner type of position for Armand Hammer, but I do think that this one is just really good, and it's unusual to me that it gets better with every listen. Like overall, I think that this album, in the kind of the scope of all the Armand Hammer albums, this is probably going to fit in a top 4. It might be recency bias, but probably a top 4 for me, maybe top 5 for me right now. I really like this album a lot. And
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, but I think it's funny. I think it's funny you said that.
Yeah.
I think it's funny you said that, because I think their unorthodox style is what's going to really make these folks mainstream. Because people are right now, let me tell you something, I'm in America right now, buddy, and people are looking for something new. Like, the quality of music right now on the radio is a young lady by the name of Sexy Red saying, pardon the language, my pussy's pink and my booty hole's brown. Like, that's literally what people are saying now. So people are really looking for more stuff, and that unorthodox style that these guys do, I think is really, if it gets out there, people are going to grab onto it. It's kind of like when people thought Nas was lyrical in the beginning, and people were like, "Oh, that new style."
I've been saying that same thing that you just said for like 20 years in hip hop, though. Right? Like, these guys never make it to mainstream success, and I don't think that I don't know if they'd even want to be in that position where they're doing Hot 97 interviews or whatever. But
can you imagine that?
Yeah.
That's
a bizarre world.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. LP said that's, but in a bizarre world where Koflo is the new pop sensation. Yeah, it's like it's a weird thing, but I don't know if like the Armand Hammer project can really get too much larger than it is now. I feel like if you're in the know, you would have been in the know after Alchemist, right? So I don't know. But this one,
the last Woods album too.
Yeah, words. Maps.
Also, this album's not on Backwoods. This is on Fat Possum.
That's right.
So this is much bigger distribution. Like, probably pressed a hell of a lot more vinyl and tapes and CDs. You know what I mean? Like,
you can still cop the vinyl on their Bandcamp right now, which is unusual for a week after the album's been out. Yeah.
And Fat Possum started off as like reissuing old blues records label. Like, they do everything now. They got like everything on label. It's very eclectic and cool.
Okay.
But like, it's
Fat
interesting.
Possum are a massive label.
Word.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys, did we all kind of wrap up how we feel about the album? I was hoping to go through a track by track type of joint, for this. Did we do that? I know we could just talk about this shit forever, but did everybody kind of say how they feel about it? Jamil, how do you feel about the album overall?
So I've probably given it like 10 plus spins. What I can say with like a reasonable level of confidence is that I find it to be the most like vivid Armand Hammer album. And I think it's just one that requires a lot of listens to unpeel. Because I was like you, Mega. Like, first couple of times I heard this, I was like, I don't know if I like this. Some of it's cool, I guess. Some of it's weird. What the fuck are they doing? I love these guys so much. What are they doing? Like, I started to get like emotional and shit and like hella nerdy about it. And then I had to like calm myself down a little bit. Because it's disorienting. I think this is a disorienting album. The first couple times I was for me anyway. I know Spade was talking about how like this was smooth for him, like first couple of listens, right? And that's just everyone's ears are different, you know? That's how it goes. But I think this Armand Hammer album is building on what makes them great, like at the end of the day. But I do think they're taking a left turn stylistically, sonically, and even collaboratively. And while there's a lot of new ground being covered on this album for Woods and Elucid, there are quite a few references to the past, like what Jet is saying. Like, they throw in all these callbacks to past bars and hooks and recontextualize them. And these are from Armand Hammer songs. These are from Woods songs. These are from even from solo Elucid material, some of this. So I think this is an album that is signaling like a new era for Armand Hammer, maybe. That's just me speculating. I don't actually know. Maybe I'm thinking too much about like the album cover and the 10-year thing too. But I did grow to ultimately really love this album, and I couldn't tell you where I would place it right now because I'm still digesting it. But I think once you get into the individual tracks, that's where like you start. Like when I was like taking notes on the individual tracks is where I started to be like, "Fuck, this album's incredible. This album's phenomenal." You know, it's in the details for me.
Yeah, indeed. Number one for you, Spade.
Oh man, hands down, number one, dog. Like, this is the one. Like this is the one, dude. This is the one. I feel like, look, man. I'm not saying that folks listen to me or listen to this review channel, but I feel like that maybe Billy was listening to me. He's like, you know what? I think L Spade got something, man. I think
that was on my bingo card. That was on my Spade bingo card.
Maybe a little pretentious.
I hope you're right. I do.
Maybe we should dumb this down, not dumb it down, but maybe we should make it a little bit more digestible. Because I truly, if you listen to that review of the Haram album, like I'm being consistent. So what now?
I prefer not to.
Yeah, well, I know, but like I'm consistent with my critiques. Like, and when this one came out, I was like, oh wow, I can't get mad that you gave me what I asked for. I really can't.
I'm not gonna go back into what happened on that Haram review, but let's.
You can watch.
That's how I found out about your channel, by the way. Just so you know. I know you said that's probably your first video. Yeah. I mean, maybe it was probably way after the album actually came out.
Okay.
Right?
I just remember being absolutely dumbfounded.
I watched that, eating the popcorn same time, man. It was great. Loved it.
That's why we brought Spade in, man, because he's the everyman. You know, like before we review that album, when I met Spade, one of the first times I played an Armand Hammer track for him and
Alex, wasn't it?
No, it was Santa Claus.
Stash, yeah, Uncle Stash.
Yeah, Stash. Cairo Stash. I played it and y'all was like, "Oh, this is industrial? This is." I forget. I played something off of Paraffin, I think, but yeah, and we brought Spade in because we know kind of where he comes from musically, and it was a good contrast to the weirdos of me and Jet, who are both different type of weirdos as well with the type of music we like and appreciate. So yeah, that one I don't like to go back to watch it, but at the same time, I don't like to go back and watch any of our reviews. So it's just kind of but. Let's start off. Let's do a track by track on this one. Landlines.
How you by JPEG Mafia?
Yeah. How y'all feeling? Any thoughts on that?
I think it's of note that they had JPEG Mafia producing the first and last track of the album.
Yeah. What does he have? 3 or 4 beats on this?
4 beats on it. 3 beats by himself and 1 with Pudge. I want to talk about that a little bit later when we get onto that track.
Yeah.
But there's like an interesting interplay going on between Armand Hammer and JPEG Mafia. I'm not sure how they like organize this, but there's a combination of, often you'll see a producer tailoring their beats to a rapper or vice versa, a rapper just kind of styling over a beat as they normally would. But there seems to be not necessarily a compromise, but they have certainly met each other halfway on this track. This is like JPEG Mafia is quite restrained on this track compared to a lot of his production. It's an extremely simple melody, right? It's just the one kind of like drone that runs through the whole thing, and he puts in his samples. He's got like his signature sound to it, but at the same time, there's a bit of pulling back here, and then similarly, you've got Elucid on point. Billy's on second, and they go back and forth. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting interplay between these 3 very kind of different and kind of idiosyncratic artists.
It kind of reminded me of more the type of production we got from JPEG Mafia on Cornballs than it did, Bald or Veteran or any of his other works. It seemed to me as though he was not like, here goes a bunch of beats. He was like, I'm gonna make some music for Armand Hammer here. I'm gonna try to make some Armand Hammer type of shit here, and of course, it's gonna have his flavor come through. When that first song, like I like the way it comes in. What does it come in like? it starts off with kind of like a non-beat soundscape of like random notes and sounds and things, but by the time it comes in, I'm like, fuck yeah, they got some really dope bars on there. I got it out the mud, but it's gorilla in my blood, and that's probably gorilla spelled like not the animal. I'm not here for them trenches, high ground, keep them guessing. It's, you know, I don't have any elucid bars from that one, Spade. I got Woods on that one.
But that's a hood bars from Woods though. It's from hood bars. That's straight up hood.
Yeah, and you know,
I like when he says, "It's a dumb line. Don't play on my phone unless you Badu." That's got to be a reference to the Badu mixtape, but you can't use my phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Or Hello, the track she did with Andre 3000. I'm trying to pull out some more Outkast references on this album. I think there's some of that. I think there's some of that going on.
You did mention the or sent a screenshot or something of somebody saying that this kind of felt like Armand Hammer's Aquemini in a way, and I feel that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel that. You know, the Aquemini album was like, it was kind of the synthesis between the kind of Afrocentric AT-Aliens and the hood Southern Playalistic, but it kind of synthesized into like a deeper musicality for them that also led to and like a very strange, absolutely uncanny like blackness on that album that I don't think that there's any other album that sounds close to what they did on Aquemini.
That's a dope pull, whoever said that.
Yeah,
Jamil, you said that. That's a dope pull. Now, yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
It was someone else on Twitter who was. I think they were saying there was also an anniversary too of it was like Aquemini was the anniversary of it was so close to that, but that could just be coincidence, of course. Yeah, I feel like JPEG is on his vaporwave shit on this album. It's like very 106 Point Never sounding stuff here.
Yeah, deep musicality, but like vibey as hell.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up by saying that it's a good way to bring in the album, guys. Like seriously, it was good. I was like, oh, I mean, you drew me in off top. So hey, I ended with that.
Yeah, you know, the next track, Woke Up and Asked Siri How I'm Gonna Die. I kind of realized that was my least favorite track on the album when after about like the 8th listen to the album, I still had 0 notes for that song. And I have no notes for that song right now. I just think that at a certain point, I was just like, yeah, I'm not really interested in listening to this one. And I don't know why. I can't tell you. It just
you don't like the raunchy bars on this one, man. The meat references.
I mean, I you know, I'm always down. As you know, the email address for Secret House is goonmaneuvers@gmail.com if anybody wants to email us. But yeah, I'm always down for the goon stuff, but I don't know why I didn't have any notes on this.
There was there is a 5% Nation of Islam bar on there where he says
WD Fard.
Yeah, came, saw, flipped a couple mitts, dipped like WD Fard.
Hey, shout out to the light skinned king, Moorish Science Temple, Nation of Islam. Word, I guess.
This does probably take my title for my favorite song title of the year. As soon as I saw that title, like I just immediately died laughing. It's a hilarious and absurd title. Obviously, it connects to the broader themes of the album of
Wait on Chris Crack.
Bones. Well, I was going to say apologies to Chris Crack because you know, maybe Goofies Need Guidance was my favorite track of the year, title of the year at that point. But yeah, and the broader kind of themes of like surveillance that you see on especially on Woods's work, you know, this like panopticon kind of constantly being watched. The fact that Siri is always listening. You know, if you have an iPhone, like this fake woman is seeing and listening, and she knows so much about you. Maybe she knows when you're gonna die.
I'll give it another play. A 12.
At one point, Lucid refers to himself as a sticky bun. I don't know what that means, but I'm too dumb to catch any of Lucid's wild ass poetry. But I just like that he calls himself a sticky bun. I think it's adorable. Into it.
I thought it was kind of
nasty. Like, it could be it could be raunchy. It could be a play on Woods's raunchy line before that. What is it? 8 till my jaw ached. Wait for her to say I can have it raw. And then the line before that is patient carnivore.
There's a lot of food in that track, yeah.
That whole run is super dope. Marbled steak, put it back in the case so it can age more. Patient carnivore, yeah, hard.
Also, wild dogs, fresh wounds, and old scars. Wild cards pulled out the deck as if the game weren't already hard. That's a fucking good line.
So I think these are bars you could hear. You're gonna disagree, but these are bars you could hear from pretty much any mainstream artist. But the way the bars were put together were great, and that's probably why you guys don't like the song as much. But from a common,
this is one of my favorites.
yeah, see, I think it's a good song.
I like this song a lot.
Yeah, from a go ahead, Nigga. What you say?
I don't know why I don't like it.
I think it's too mainstream for you, buddy. I really do.
I listen to mainstream shit all the time.
Yeah, but
the most JPEG Mafia of the JPEG Mafia productions.
Yeah, that's true.
On the album, like this sound, other than the MCs being different, like this doesn't sound like it. This could have been on Scaring the Host.
Sure.
It could have been on LP or
It's just one of those things. Like sometimes samples and production speaks to you in different ways. Sometimes some real simple shit like really works out for me, and it's hard to explain what kind of meets you there. And this one just didn't. I don't mean to be critical about it because I don't think it's a bad song.
Right.
But of all the songs, it was my least favorite, and I didn't realize it until I noticed I didn't make any notes for it, and it wasn't one that. It'd be, my lunch break, and I'm like, oh, let me go listen to Armand Hammer, and it's not.
You don't come to Armand Hammer for this type of music, though. Like you can get this type of music from anybody. So I get what you're saying. Kind of to Jamil's point, like you wouldn't expect this to come out of Armand Hammer's camp. I didn't. I was like, oh, word, y'all talking about the poom poom? Word, let's do it up here. Let's get it.
It's also the second single. I feel like if they're gonna do 3 singles, one, and you got JPEG on doing production 4 times on this album, you got to feature him on one of those singles.
Yeah,
right. And maybe I feel like this is the one. If you think about the first track and the last track, couldn't have been one of those, right? So it's either this one or the 4th track, which that's my favorite beat. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Pudge is crazy. I'm telling y'all. But
about that.
Let's move on to the flexible unreliability of time and memory. This is on my first listen of the album. The first 2 tracks I was like, good, nice. When I got to this, I was like, oh, okay. This is Armand Hammer. This is what I like. And this was the first, like on my first listen, this is the first song that really captured my attention. And I really like this one. I like pondering and thinking about what the album title means and how it relates to the wider kind of philosophical canon of their music, and the more mother stuff, the Afrofuturistic ideals, and it's just like a really airy kind of etheric beat with some interesting tonal elements. And that this also has the elucid lines that are very like noticeable throwbacks to his previous work. A double dose of protection for me and my niggas, and you don't work, you don't eat. Both clearly placed there as throwbacks to older rhymes. And I didn't go back and listen to those 2 tracks in particular. What is a double dose? Is that on Spelling from his
Old
album?
Magic.
Okay.
Old Magic off I Told Betsy. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And also again, both of them, I love Child Actor, and this is a Child Actor beat. And Child Actor is making some of the dopest airy etheric shit out right now. I love him on the Serengeti album. I love all the collaborative work he's done, and he just does it again on this one. Also, that Woods verse.
That Woods verse, as like an extremely online person, probably has the most striking bar on the album, especially if you're like a black person who spends a lot of time on the internet.
Dr. Umar.
You realize they're describing Allah. The choice was Kevin Samuels or Dr. Umar. Gentlemen, the choice is yours, but I assure you, Jimmy Baldwin is not coming through that door.
Choose the ball or the sword.
Yeah.
Reactionary manosphere politics versus like Hotep massage noir. Like neither of them are anything close to James Baldwin. Yeah, I really like that.
Do you get the sport? There's also a sports reference tangled up in there too. Did you guys get that? It's a reference to Rick Pitino. He was the coach of the 2000 Boston Celtics. He had this like press conference after losing like a big ass game, like it might have been finals, where people were constantly comparing like that lineup to like all the legends of like the Boston Celtics, and he had this thing where he's talking about, he's like screaming, he's like, but I assure you, like Larry Bird's not coming through that door. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like he's triangulating a sports reference in there too, which I didn't know. I had to look up who Dr. Umar was, but I knew Kevin Samuels. Yeah.
All right, you can delete that from your history now. Otherwise, you're going to start getting all types of wild videos on your video short recommendations on Facebook.
Andrew Tate is coming for
YouTube.
you now.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. I
Just
thought
pearly things.
I thought the song was great. I love the bars from Billy and Elucid. However, as great as the beat was, it took way too much time for me to get the bars. I was sitting there waiting. I'm like, all right. Okay, 10 seconds in. It's cool. All right, 15. Word. They coming. They coming.
It's very child actor.
20. About to come. 30. I'm about to bust. No, I'm not. Come on. I'm like, been coming so much, man. I'm like, yo. But around 30, 35 seconds, man, I finally got some bars. But overall, great song when it came in.
It's definitely not towards a kind of pop song formulation where it starts off, you get a verse.
Well, not even pop song. It just took a while, man. I'm just like,
I dig it.
bars,
actually.
man.
I like those moments of like openness and flourishing that they allowed on the album throughout its sequencing that kind of give parts to breathe when it gets chaotic. Usually the next track kind of has an opening that kind of it for me the sequencing and the way that they did the album, it's one of the things I like. That when you said that it took a while for the song to start, I thought you were talking about the beginning of the album with what is it, phone lines? Yeah, and yeah, but no, I actually quite like that. But also I think Child Actor is a producer that a lot of people like. He's a little bit different than some of the other producers on this album. Like that Ajay 2 Serengeti joint.
Yep.
I love it, but I imagine most people don't fuck with that.
I mean, the first 3 songs on this album, I feel like they're very spacious. They take time to unfurl. It's like it sound like a lot of the sounds are like new age and like very chill. I mean, like I could see someone who's not a patient listener getting kind of like thrown off this first 3 songs, especially if they're expecting him to bang. Like it just doesn't come out the gate like that at all.
The back end hits way harder than the front. Like the thing is, you can keep my attention because I'm an ADHD listener, and you know, but the first song, I'll give you levity. You can let that breathe because it's an intro. Like, do what you got to do on that. Second song was actually a banger. Third song, I'm like, but when we get to like the 5th or 6th, that's when it starts to pick up more. This snowball starts to roll down the hill. So, but it just kind of dirgy at points, but overall the energy on this album is great. Just want to point that out. Wow. Just that song in particular, just kind of, I was like,
I get you.
I'm listening to this because I have to listen to it. But then when the bars came in, I'm like, okay, I'm glad I stayed around.
Right. You know, if there was one album that I was glad you weren't around for to review with us, it was the Ajay album with Serengeti, because it's a lot of music like this, and it's very kind of strange and artistic. And I was like, man, it's going to break my heart having to argue with Spade about this album more than I talk about it. But it is very, you know, it's Child Actor-ish. It is very Child Actor-like. I do like that one though. Next track,
When It Doesn't Start With a Kiss.
Yeah, this is another JPEG beat, right?
With Pudge. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I'm so glad to see Pudge on something, man. Because
Pudge is dope.
I've been a hardcore fan of Pudge for a long time, like, you know, probably 14, 15 years.
Oh,
at
no
this
shit.
Point.
He produced Betamax, right? On the Elucid album?
I believe
is that
so,
him?
Yeah. He's you know, he was also just a fixture of, you know, he's from New York, but he was a fixture of that LA beat scene. You know, you always saw him around with like the Brain Feeder Cats.
Sure.
He has an album with DiBiase as well, like I think it's
one
like
of those split
tape.
joints that they were doing. Yeah,
like
the
Los
Baker's
Angeles,
Dozen
like
or some
1 out of
shit.
10, like that whole thing. I hadn't really been following his career over the last like maybe 5-6 years at this point. Like certainly since I came to Japan, I had kind of not been following his work. He put out an EP maybe shortly before I went to Japan about that was like based on the writings and kind of history of Thomas Sankara. So we got a comrade. I didn't realize that he was a leftist as well, which is fucking dope. But I think it comes through musically, you know, and he's obviously being from Queens. and a leftist. He's a very natural fit for Armand Hammer. Yeah, we're real happy to see Pudge on this album. It's been a while.
Yeah, he did produce Betamax, by the way. I was just double checking on that. I love this beat, man. It sort of kind of chugs along, and there's so many little components. It becomes like more melodic and cacophonous at the same time. It kind of feels like a bunch of like disparate parts, like separate parts, slowly assembling themselves into a beat. And yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like
it's
organized
by Pudge and JPEG Mafia, right? Which makes you wonder if like maybe Pudge like gave Peggy a beat and then JPEG Mafia like slowly morphed it into something else, or if it was done the other way around, or if maybe they both like were like, all right, here's the BPM, here's the key, we're gonna both go make some beats and then merge them together into something new.
But this one's got the beat switch, right?
Yeah,
have the beat
like
switch,
in the second beat is the hard ass one with the marimba on it.
Yes.
Where without
Shout out
I
to
think
the
Woods
marimba.
is rapping on.
Yeah, Woody's verse on that is incredible too. It's like he's basically, it sounds like he's running down a situation with like the law, and he starts off with that SpongeBob to Poseidon, got the operation on Titan, and the SpongeBob line is likely a throwback to what SpongeBob off of
SpongeBob.
Yeah, and Poseidon, also the god of the sea, but also the ship that sunk, and the whole operation's underwater. Got the operation on Titan,
with submarine exploded at the bottom.
The submarine that exploded. It also could be like Saturn's moon that is covered with like
too. The Laney book.
Yeah, man, and superseding indictment in a glacier on Dykeman, my high heighten, and glaciers perhaps referring to like just ice, justice, which is an old 5%er magic trick. And it's just like a piece of the sky, priceless, but I toss it in the recycling. It's like, yeah, he's risking himself with this kind of drug operation, perhaps. I don't have all the lyrics. I just got a few bars here and there, but that's what I was getting from that entire kind of bar run. I thought that shit was hard.
And that's what I'm talking about, dog. This beat slap, bro. When the change came in, I'm like, I'm in, bro. And once again, you're talking about selling the narcotics. Anybody, I ain't gonna say anybody can relate to that, but that is a common theme in mainstream music, right? So, but the way he stitches it together and stitches his lyrics together, masterful. I must say, like, that's probably the hardest Woods verse on this junk. But you're talking about a common theme so beautifully to the point I was like, you know what? And then when the beat switch came in, I'm like, yes, being a guy from Memphis, I'm like, yes, that's how you do it, guys. That's how you win a crowd right there.
Word life.
I want to hear the We Buy Diabetic Test Strips band playing live on that beat, like a backwoods The Roots or something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You were talking about there's some Afrocentrism shit on here for sure. Like Woods is definitely taking a hit on some of the homophobia that's so common, like in that doctrine, right? On the ancient Egypt lines, that shit's so good.
And my crypto multi-layered pyramid Ponzi. Like you got like obviously the ancient Egyptian pyramid crypts, etc. Cryptocurrency is as a kind of pyramid scheme, like such a layered bar in like 6 words.
Yeah, triggering
hoteps.
I'm sniggering with the aunties.
And scissoring Sapphists. I have to look up what a Sapphist is, but that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
What's a Sapphist? I'm sorry, I missed that.
A lesbian.
A lesbian.
Oh,
Sappho
was the Greek writer from the island of Lesbos, and the words sapphic and lesbian both come from that.
Yeah, bro, put that into your porn search catalog. You'll come up with all types of jewels.
Somebody speaking from experience.
Yeah, and then it's like at the end of the verse, it's like, she leaned in and said, Poppy, be careful. It kind of places him outside of that, toxic hotep thing, like the same shit that he was talking about with Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar is very pronounced in that level of hotep misogyny and reactionary, family lifestyle bullshit. So I like to I'm a big fan of trying to pull out different meanings from work and disconnecting the artist all the time from what they say and relating it to larger themes. But sometimes, you know, these guys are obviously trying to like put down a specific thought at times, but sometimes I think it's open air for us to be like, what's going on here? And this is one of my favorites on the album.
Great, lyrics make you do that.
Yeah.
I keep a mirror in my pocket.
Oh yeah.
Got Cavalier on point here. I know you're a very big fan of Cavalier, one of your favorite MCs.
Huge fan of Cavalier. And I know he was on like a sampler, an album, like a label sampler earlier in the year. He had a track with the Backwoods folks, and I was expecting a full-length project from him. But when I saw him listed on this, I was like, hell yeah. And his verse on this song, it's one of my favorite verses on the entire album. He's so fire. And man, like just the way he rhymes and the way that I don't even know. His shit is hard. In fact, the only notes that I got on this shit is like 4 bars from him. Like I didn't take many notes on this because every time I get into it, man, he's just so fucking ill. Yeah, I love Cavalier.
He's got an album coming out on Backwoods.
Okay. Thank God. Like I've been waiting. It's been like 4 or 5 years since special, I forget what it's called, but yeah, he's so dope. I love Cavalier.
I saw him open up for Quelle like a year ago. It was my first time hearing him. He was fucking an incredible performer.
He's so dope. Silent was a tone I yell in speaker phones when I'm walking brisk, dialed up. That's 8-7 on my handheld obelisk. What is like 8-7 is like that, how you star 8-7, how you do anonymous phone calls. Fucking got Uber dreams bounce back like the streets did a collar flip. I got a strain called reparations in my crypto wallet minted. He's hard. He's fucking hard. I got a strain called reparations. Fool is crazy.
Shouts out to Preservation also on the beat. I really like the beat on this track actually. You know, Preservation is not a major presence on this record as he has been on previous Backwoods releases. Yeah. But he put his whole foot into this beat.
Yeah, I love that one.
Sounds like something you'd hear on a Rap Forever album or Noname even. You know, those bright jazzy keys. I fucking love it. It's such a good beat. It's distinct from every other beat on the album, I think, too. Elucid says, "Don't invite me to your house. Don't invite me to your house. Ask me to remove my shoes and your floors ain't clean," which is a totally fine thing to say. But as someone who came up Muslim, what I can observe from this line is that Elucid cannot possibly be talking about going to a Muslim person's house.
And the 3 of us also live in Japan. So
yeah, you know we're keeping our floors clean, man. That's the whole point of removing your shoes. So I don't know who he's talking about, but I know who he's not.
I think it's a metaphor, though. Seriously, like a lot of folks invite you to come out there clean and be like, yo, like it. Bro, it's so many gems from the master rhymer Elucid, who's vastly superior to Woods, that I just have to say that Elucid,
I got him up 3-1 so far going into the 5th track.
But seriously, Elucid does such a good job. Seriously.
I assume like the 3 of us like probably prefer Woods, right? But even I wouldn't. Like I feel uncomfortable saying like Woods is like the better. Like I just don't understand so much of what Elucid puts out. Like he is a different kind of poet than Woods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a damn good track maker too. Let's not forget that.
Incredibly multi-talented human being, like deserves all the shine in the world, and apparently had a lot to do with like this album for sure. He's very interesting on this album. He doesn't so much have a lot of bars as he does like mantras and kind of like very slippery. Like he's so adventurous with his vocals. That's like he's trying to like reinvent. He's trying to like reinvent what it is to be an MC potentially, you know.
Yeah, that bar also does connect back to the flexible unreliability of time and memory, because Billy Woods mentions wearing his house shoes on tatami floors.
Yeah, he did.
If you're going to be on the tatami, like you're either barefoot or you're wearing some like some geta, like some indoor slippers, some tabi, whatever.
Yeah, that line kind of triggered me a little bit too. I was like, hey, bro, like even when I was in the United States, my mom is from the Philippines, and I don't know. We know. In fact, when I see people wearing shoes in the house, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, gross.
Like,
now, me too. Now, yeah.
Oh, what about fucking people putting on their bed? You ever see that shit? Like you're watching a white TV show, and they're just putting their That happens all the time.
You know what you said, white, because that's some white people stuff. Like
shoes on the
is.
couch. I'm just like, and I keep my shoes fairly crispy too. But you know, like, come on, man. I was just walking through the park. Yeah,
it makes no sense to wear shoes in the house, guys. As a Westerner who went over to Japan and embraced that culture, let me tell you something. Even when I came back to America, them shoes got to go off, buddy. That's nasty.
Yeah.
Gross.
What do y'all think? What do y'all think about the chorus on this? Because I actually love the Cavalier chorus on this. And just kind of how he freaks that last line about the pigs and like the wolf, you know, like that red
Three Little Pigs.
Yeah.
It's like the only chorus on the album. Yeah, it's the only chorus on the album that I can like repeat throughout my head. It's so catchy. Like it's the stickiest one in my opinion.
Yeah. Get out my face, ass nigga. Like, yeah, like it's dope, man. I really love that track, man. It does seem like it seems more hip hoppy or conventionally hip hoppy than even the El Producto track, which is a little bit more challenging with his production. But yeah, I love that one.
Cavalier's a little Kendricky on that hook, I would say.
Yeah, Cavalier's always been really fire with the choruses, man. Like I've always liked the way he approaches choruses, and he tends to use a bit of a sing-song style that is not singing like a lot of these cats are trying to sing a chorus, where it's like, this is a rap kind of sung chorus, not a chorus that you should have, instead of auto-tuning yourself, you should have got a singer to do. Like he can kind of melodically bring you in through a chorus to, you know, even way back old Quelle Chris shit that's super simple, like the Basquiat you seeing is symbolic of the sound. The Basquiat you seeing is symbolic of the sound. It's just like really kind of sing-songy but rapping. So I love, that's a standout verse for me. I don't know. That's probably one of the top 5 verses on the album for me. But I'm a huge Cavalier fucking mark. So yeah. Well, you want to move on to the next song?
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Trauma Mike,
lead single.
DJ Haram produced this one featuring Pink Sifu. This beat, Jamil, you want to take the reins on this, or even Spade, like, because this one is kind of punk. This one is kind of fucking hard, and
I must say, I found myself really loving this track, and I'm not a Sifu fan. I'm not, but on this one, he worked perfectly. The whole thing worked together perfectly. I gotta say, I had to look up who was the engineer of Backwoods, and I think it's some dude named Willie Green. And Willie Green did a whole damn good job on this album. I must say, it's mixed immaculately. Like, everything sits up right. It's everything that needs to be forward is forward. Everything that needs to be back is back. And the way you mix Sifu's verse is how his shit should have been sounding on his album. Like, dead ass. Like, when you can hear Sifu, he go hard. Like, that's been like, even like Fly Anakin. In a lot of these rappers, I can't hear your verse. And you know y'all gonna say, oh yeah, Spade, everything about the mix. But
why you gotta do that voice? You gotta do that Donald Trump, you know what I mean? Get in trouble for doing it. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, because people always be like,
because I'll be one of the people saying, hey, Spade, you don't gotta be the number. Don't do me like that.
I'm just saying, people always like wonder why I harp on mixes so much. But if you can't hear, then you can't really take it in unless you're just using the voice as some kind of extra instrument layer on top of it. It doesn't really have impact. But when I can hear Sifu, I'm like, okay, dog, you hard. And I will fade back now.
I agree with you, Spade. Actually, one of the things as I was listening to this album was how well it sounds on headphones, how well it sounds on speakers, how clear, crisp, and kind of like it was a different listening experience to me. And that's why it kind of also reminds me of Aquemini with how, like, you know, you used to listen, like the Chronic sounds great on speakers, but when you listen to Aquemini, there's like a warmth there. The mixing is just like something full and it sounds musical. And even on this track that is not one that is you know, like particularly melodic in any kind of kumbaya type of way, it's very confrontational in its presentation. Even the vocals from Sifu are not his usual, you know, soft kind of singing shit. It's very punk
aggro.
Yeah, it's very punk in that type of way.
Have you heard his punk rap album, Negro? You heard that?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. I know the seafood that I think we probably expect these days is that smooth, and you get that on the other seafood feature, right? Like that raspy, like almost D'Angelo kind of like thing, right?
Yeah. It's dope, man. You know, bars too from Elucid, neo folk, trauma mic, echo chamber, deep fake deep talking wound, sit on my face or say it to my face. Yeah, he's dope.
You said sit on my face.
Yeah, I was thinking about them calves too much, bro.
That's on the record.
I don't say pause. I don't got no police in my head like that. But no, the Woods verse on this too. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's deeper going on in that verse, because I feel like there's something being said that I'm not picking up on. Like he starts it off with, "My brother in Christ, there's no I in team." And then later he says, like, "Any one of you bums could be Jesus." And then you have the Bathsheba line where she was like the mother of Solomon, and King David smashed her and he killed Uriah.
Her husband.
Yeah, her husband. And it's just like, there's lines about rappers everywhere, and like Stormfront preacher, getting out of the cold, Mother Teresa, and then he ends it with some like missionary position because I know God's watching or something like that. And I'm just like, all of these kind of Judeo-Christian references here or Abrahamic religious references here. I'm like, yo, something might be going on there, but it also could just be like, I father you, I son you fools. You know what I mean? Like rappers are whack. It's very much that too. I like that though. I'm still figuring that one out, but it's a dope track.
Yeah, DJ Haram on the beat. She does a project with More Mother called 700 Bliss, which is very good too. This beat reminded me of a group called Dialect. Do y'all know that group?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Industrial influenced hip hop group from Newark.
Drop Mouth of what was it called? I forget the name of their first project that dropped in the early aughts.
I don't know.
Mouth of the Gods.
Yeah, I forget the name of it too. I haven't listened to them in a minute, but you know, they utilized a lot of heavy guitar sounds, like deep sub bass and like noise. And DJ Haram is definitely like bringing that I like that clanging, like snare that's hitting like throughout the whole song. Yeah.
You're talking about Dalek that's spelled D-A-L-E-K, right?
Okay. Yeah. They're from Newark, I think. Yeah.
I think Dalek just put a new album out like earlier this year.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard. That's one of my favorites. I like all these songs. Let me stop saying favorite and not or whatever. But yeah.
Well, and there's some industrial shit kind of happening on Paraffin, right? But to me, this is different. This is much more spacious and even more like brutal sounding.
Yeah. What about Niggardly?
Favorite song? Favorite song on the album? Loved it.
Fucking great.
Loved it. That was that was the one. I was like, yeah. This is the one.
This is I heard this. I was like, this is Armand Hammer's Mob Deep cut.
Yeah.
Word.
That's the one. Niggardly. I was like, yeah, this is the one for everybody.
I was looking at the Billy Woods subreddit, and on call, somebody was like, "Can I say this?" And obviously it's like a non-black person. And it's just like, yes, bro.
It's a real word.
It's a real word.
Also, it's ironic that that's coming from Reddit, because I definitely remember this whole period where Reddit, they thought it was the funniest fucking joke to just be like, "Stop being such a niggard. Why are you behaving so niggardly? Oh, how niggard of you." And like, you could, these white kids thought that shit was the funniest thing.
Oh, they love that.
Like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
Type shit.
Yeah. But yeah, you could say this album title. I'll give you a pass. Non-black people. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. What do you think, Spade? It's not even a conversation, right? It's a ridiculous conversation.
Intent matters.
Yeah. But yeah, I fucking love this track. I love the beats. Elucid laid a feather on a scale and ripped my heart out, weigh it up.
So hard.
Which is, directly about Anubis in Egyptology. In the afterlife,
right? Afterlife.
Yeah, in the afterlife, he pulls your heart out and he weighs it on a scale next to a feather, and if it works out right, he walks you through the fields. And I learned about that on American Gods. Yeah, Neil Gaiman's American Gods. But yeah, that's just dope. Yo, shout out to Aperitif. Billy Woods is going to hit us with some food, amuse bouche type of words that I'm not familiar with, but I was like, what is an aperitif? Let me look this up. And it's like, oh,
aperitif, yeah.
Yeah, aperitif. Yeah. Yeah, aperitif. And I was like, okay, so I'll be doing aperitifs all the time, apparently.
That's just called eating a snack, Mega.
No, I thought I thought it's like an alcoholic beverage after with a snack.
It is, yeah. Some crackers and some wine or whatever, some cheese.
Me and Jet might aperitif after this shit. I don't know. We do that.
Always do.
Yeah.
You always do.
Jamil, did you?
What's on the hook? What's on the hook on this one? That's one of his best, man.
I was wondering if you thought that this had any like relation to terror management in the way that kind of My Heart Pumps ketamine, which has also been used as like a therapy tool, a drug for therapy now, depression management. Yeah. And it's kind of like, maybe something. That's why I like connecting the dots back in the catalog, because it's a reemerging theme that comes from Woods.
Yeah, the where my head went with Elucid's verse, because Elucid's out here talking about sucking air out of my lungs quicker. He's talking about phones. He says throwing dead pigeons over walls. I need a bigger ladder and a blowgun for the floaters. I have not been able to figure this out because I'm a trash bar whisperer. But there may be a connection to the Cannibal Ox track Pigeons.
Sure.
Which has, it's the sole LP feature on the Cold Vein. Because if you listen to that track, like Vodal's Mega's verse is talking about Eskimo metal doctrine locked in oxygen shell, word shot plated metal lung, which spun kids carousel. And then LPs saying pigeons turn penguins, talk fables cellular. I rock my simulated air tank bit so I can leave pressures of oxygen where my mic's lit. I'm just a pigeon. And I don't know how these things fit exactly. I just know that Elucid's referencing, lungs, oxygen, and air tanks all over this album, not just on this track. And then this is connected to phones in both songs. What's up?
The phones and communication themes that you see throughout the whole
carrier
record.
pigeons.
Carrier pigeon. But,
tossing
them over with the letter, like
LP's final bar on that song is "I'm just a pigeon." The song "Pigeon," right? And then this is right before the LP track.
Right.
Obviously, like pigeons are the spirit animal in like the Cold Vein, right? There's like pigeon can't drop shit if it never flew, right?
Right. I mean, the central theme of the Cold Vein is that they are, city pigeons. They're basically city Rassica fly pigeons, and when they come back, they come back as phoenixes, right? Scream Phoenix is kind of the whole kind of through line of the Cold Vein. But yeah, I didn't pick that up, but maybe you're not such a trash bar whisperer, because I'm gonna go ahead and add that to my headcanon.
I don't know how to put it together, but also I don't know that it's.
I'll be feeling like that about a lot of their work, and even on that track, like the Woods verse about like delivering a package, everybody getting their split. I don't know. It's part of the puzzle that I enjoy when I listen to Armand Hammer's work. He's also on some real murderous shit on that last verse too, which to me kind of ties into that like fucking rappers are trash type of through line. Niggardly is being like ungenerous with your money, your time, your attention, and they really be on that. Like, I don't got no fucking time for y'all, and I dig it.
And it slaps. Like, once again, let's just go back to the basic bare bones of this track. It slaps. It's a slapper. It's something that I could damn near put in the club. It's just a good song. So just
August Fanon is amazing. He's on point with his theory. Yeah, he's dope. Also, the name, I fuck with him so heavy.
Comrades make the best beats.
Hey, word. Speaking of really good beats, but perhaps not a comrade anymore. I don't know. El Producto produced The Gods Must Be Crazy, which is did you guys ever see that movie?
No.
Nah.
I saw that movie when I was a kid. I grabbed it up when I was maybe like 6 years old.
That's a Mel Brooks movie, right?
What's that?
Is that a Mel Brooks movie?
I don't think so. It might be. It's not a typical Mel Brooks movie. If it is, it's like this dude from an African tribe like finds a Coke bottle or something. I haven't seen it in years, and they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on with it. But I remember the album cover was so striking because it was just like this. It was like this African dude on the cover. That is not the album cover that I saw. But yeah. Maybe that's a different one. What year did that come out?
He's got the bottle, right? He's like,
okay. Yeah, I think like an African tribe finds like a Coke bottle and they're like, "What the hell is going on?" But I'm gonna rewatch it. But outside of that, outside of the album title or whatever, this beat is fucking hard. That beat is
one
hard.
of the best track makers out there, though. We just gotta give it to him. Like he's been consistent on the track. I put LP and Blockhead are some of the best producers out there, dog. Like hands down. Like Navy Blue. LP and Blockhead are the best producers out there.
What I love about it is that LP's production is so distinct, and it still has a lot of variety in his approach of sounds and such, but it's so distinct. His drums are just different than anybody else's drums in hip hop, and they have been for over 20 years.
Yes,
now,
consistently good.
Almost 30 years. Company Flow drums is like different, but as soon as we get to that late 90s, end of Company Flow, Definitive Jukes, Fantastic Damage era, his drums have been something else, completely different. And this
much like Alchemist, drums just with the trash.
I have that on my spade go bingo card. I only need 2 more and I got a bingo. But
you love Alchemist. Love you, Alchemist. Seriously,
this shit is amazing. This beat is dope. The verses are dope. Overlapping Venn diagrams, overlapping the hammer fell out your man's waistband grappling. Yeah, that last Woods verse is fucking ill. Get your head tap trying to get it cracking. Hard. Good raps.
Do you think this beat could have been on a Run the Jewels project?
It could have been. Yes, totally agree. Yes,
could have been. Productive. I mean, any
reminds.
No, go ahead. I was going to say any El Producto beat could be Run the Jewels now, I suppose. I don't know.
It reminded me of something off like side 2 or sorry, side 1 of The Powers That Be by Death Grips. You know that one? And like Death Grips definitely is took from LP, right? And it's maybe it's a little back and forth there. Those voices, that in the track,
yeah. And also, Zach Hill's drums are so chaotic, and LP's drums are high speed, hella snares. Like, word. I get that. That's actually a great pull. Yeah, I just like this for just a purely like if I was going to play probably any of these songs at like a hip hop event here in Tokyo, this would probably be the one that I played. It's just there to be dope. I got the powers that be.
What about Henry Kissinger, My Album's Only Feature? That's like the most meta Woods line like I've ever heard.
Shout out to that line. It's fucking great. Yeah. I'm feeling like I didn't write enough lyrics down for this, but we've also been talking for an hour and a half. So yeah, I'm okay with
well, there's the white women with pepper spray and they purse interpolating Beyonce Legal Formations.
That was the guy who don't want Legal Formations. I was like, okay, yeah.
So
which lets me know they listen to mainstream music. Yeah. Shout out to these guys being in the mainstream zeitgeist. Yeah.
Woods is fun. Woods is really funny on this album.
He is.
He's bringing the humor, even though like the music doesn't really like support it, like beat wise or whatever. Sounds a little stark and like serious sometimes. Most of the time.
That's just his voice.
He's funny as fuck. Yeah.
He is funny. Like the third verse, he's like the happiest Africans. How I started my verse for Live Aid, reverse for We Are the World, and got cut for Chris Hayes. It's just like him having a verse for the Live Aid 1985. Fucking right there with Freddie Mercury and shit. Like yeah.
Chris Hayes was in. Go ahead. I was gonna say Chris Hayes is in the Huey. I had to look this up. Huey Lewis in the News. It's like the white. He picked like the whitest band ever, who was part of the Live Aid. But anyway,
F. Porter for the Happiest Africans. That's it's another alias of Woods's. You see like a writing credit for F. Porter for the Happiest Africans on like every Billy Woods affiliated release.
Word, he is funny. I don't know. I feel like I be doing a lot of talking. I'm trying to be quiet a little bit to let people get some space. But
well, let's keep it moving.
Okay, let's move on to the next track.
Okay, stand right here.
Oh, I love this one.
It's a Doomsday, Operation Doomsday on that,
yeah.
that little opening sample.
Rhymes
Produced
like
by
diamonds.
Steel Tip Dove and Messiah Music. This beat is wild as fuck. It's like some crime jazz shit. I love it.
So who made this beat though? It was
It's Steel Tip Dove and
yeah. Kenny Siegel?
no, Messiah Music.
Okay. I would say this whole on this album, the hooks are very catchy. And once again, it leans towards dare I say it, a more mainstream feel to it, because the hooks are damn good on this album. On the Haram album, I felt like the hooks at times were just extensions of the verse, or just, I don't know, some mantras repeated and chanted, like they're trying to get you to remember your college thesis. But these hooks are just fun, man. It's fun. They catch it. They stick in your head. So once again, thank you for giving me what I was looking for, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. You dumbed it down for dummies like me, and we appreciate it.
That that last Woods verse where the beat kind of switches up, is that a sample of like a song from, is that Paraquat? Is because Messiah Music produced all of Church, right? And I feel like that beat is recycled or refurbished or made something from that. And I was thinking maybe that's why he has a production credit here, is that they took that beat and they did something with it, because it sounds like, I couldn't quite place my finger on what it was, but it's so reminiscent to something to me off of Church, I think. And go back and listen to that and let me know what you think. But that's what I thought.
On the topic of face sitting, we got Jungle Pussy on here. She makes some allusions to that. I have a massive crush on Jungle Pussy. I think she's incredible. And she brings a certain flavor to the record that kind of reminded me of like the Be Kool-Aid or even some of the like the More Mother joints where you have this kind of unbridled open sexuality combined with like raw dopeness. There's that line, why fuck him, I'm a better writer, which it's also with the like, American accent, better writer, which goes back to the face sitting, like I'm a big fan of that verse. Like her presence on here is just so like powerful. It was the thing that stood out to me on
it's like some Black Girl Magic type of shit too. For real, like she's dope. Also, they've got Money Nika on here from Soul Glow, who they use very sparingly, but works out pretty well. I like that shit a lot. The like, to be honest, the refrain that y'all can't stand right here, that is Doom. I kind of feel like this is the Rosetta Stone of the album for me in a bit of a way. That's from the song I Sell Rhymes Like Dimes. You know what I mean? And the song is called, We Buy Diabetic Test Strips. And it kind of relates to relation of like selling product amidst terrible markets in a way, you know what I mean? And also with the through line of what Doom is saying on that track, only in America can you find a way to make a healthy buck and still keep your attitude on self-destruct. There's a lot of talk about rappers on this album and their approach, and I think that it's kind of like, like when I was like, oh shit, like when I heard that when I heard the Doom refrain, the sample, I immediately thought Doom, and then I found myself rapping the Doom lyrics, and I was like, okay, I got to go listen to this. And when you go back to that Doom song, like so much of the shit that they're talking about is very much like right there in that Doom track. And I kind of do feel like it's a bit of a Rosetta Stone for one of the themes of the album. Even at the end of it, it's like Bobbito from Stretch and Bobbito, who used to do the call-in radio show and shit, and he's just like talking shit, mashed potatoes, applesauce.
I want to jump in on this because I had the exact same thought. This is maybe this is the theme of the album, or one of the primary themes, which is like a certain segment of American underclass living in a system that is so manipulative that it has you not just settling for bullshit, but being like satisfied by it. And like that line he's got, living the dream. I walked out of Denny's like it was Ruth Chris grabbing toothpicks. That's it right there. Like, and that's him being funny too, like as well. But it's also like painting a very vivid picture of what we settle for or certain folks settle for in this country, right?
I just want to say I can listen to Jet say "jungle pussy" in a British accent all day.
Guest list only got me the mezzanine. VIP is ruthless. I looked at the crowd, not the guillotine. Nibble a moose bushes. I've heard that before. I feel like I've seen it on like a cooking channel and shit. But man, yeah, yeah, fucking.
Was it like an appetizer or something?
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jet.
yeah.
I feel like
Ms.
Jet
Bush
should know all
is-
this shit just
Ms.
because.
Bush-
Yeah,
yeah,
he's British.
little
You're the
taste
closest.
Yeah, I'm so lucky to have like a British French guy, Jamaican here. That I could just go to Jamaica, France, or any of those places. I'd just be like, Jet. Yeah.
I just need to hear the word "bookie" on another album. It's been a while.
Word, Buki. Now I love this track. And I really hope that somebody pinpoints what's going on with that beat switch, because I know I feel it in my heart that it is from something on Church or something from a Messiah music produced Armand Hammer or Billy Woods or a Lucid track.
I think the first beat, I thought the first beat was Messiah and the second beat is Steel Tipped Dove. The only reason I think that is because in the middle, when Pierce Jordan is doing his thing, like screaming into the mic, like it says something about Steel Tipped Dove like coming in, right?
Okay.
So I don't know, but that doesn't mean that that's what's happening.
Well, I just feel like part of that beat is from something that one of those dudes produced before for Armand Hammer or one of the solo artists from it. I just feel like I've heard that before, and it's been refurbished, remade in a way that the kind of like some of the sonic elements are there of it, and they put it together. I'm gonna have to do some more research. I spent all of my time trying to figure out if one of these samples was from Muslim Gauze, and yeah, that took about 6 hours of my time, and I failed miserably. But I'll go back to that one too. Should we move on to the next track?
Jungle pussy.
Okay. Yeah. Jungle pussy. What is the next track? What are we on now? Total Recall. Kenny
Total
C.
Recall.
Yeah.
This is my least favorite song on the album. I feel like I just don't get it yet. Like I haven't caught on to what exactly they're going with lyrically yet. So I should probably just sit this one out.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out too. I ain't got nothing to say about this one.
Well, you know, like you were saying earlier, Spade, on how like there's these moments where like the music takes a while, the lyrics take a while to come in.
Mm-hmm.
This is one where I start to feel like that Aquemini connection for me on the album, because it starts off with this really slow kind of nature flute type of comm joint, which is probably, you know, Shabaka Hutchings there, and it's just so fucking chill and mellow. And this is where I start to be like, oh, okay, the musicality on this album is really doing something for me.
I think it's you know, very closely tied to like Sun Ra.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
fuck, what's you know, space is the place, nuclear war, like if they push that button, let it go, like that's nuclear war, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of jazzy intro is very Sun Ra evocative. Like that was, yeah.
I get that. Yeah. I just, you know,
That's my
I do
favorite
like
part of
this
the track. Once it gets going, I just, yeah, I didn't really get it.
And I don't know who was singing on this, but that's great. The Spotify doesn't have any Ladyface features listed on it, but you know, Earth Getting Warmer, We Going the Other Way. That's a hook from Marlowe, but also from Poot in The Wire. That's really dope. Lucid says Left Hand Path, Rocking Inkblot Blue, all old news. I think I need more gold. And you know, the Left Hand Path is like Aleister Crowley spell casting magic with a K, you know, black magic, and that's that shaman shit, that mystical element that I like about Lucid, especially in contrast with Wood's more kind of scholarly historian type of bars, and I'm really there for that. And then Woods ends he ends his verse with like "No father to my style" or something like that, which is definitely him giving a shout out to like Old Dirty Bastard. I fuck with this song. I like this one.
Yeah, I thought this was a beautiful beat by Kenny. I like the cosmic R&B kind of like vibe, but other than that, I don't have a whole lot of notes on this one. I did think Woods' vocal track sounded a little quiet on this one, but that could have just been me.
Good ears.
Word.
Whoever, yeah, I mean, or some engineer on here can tell me to shut the fuck up.
No, you're right. The mix is a little subdued on this one. However, you still can hear them. So like I have no gripes with the mix on that song. But yeah, the vocals could be a little bit more for it. Could have been. I mean, they all can't be 100, right?
No.
That's not what they say about Travis Scott Astroworld, a marvel of modern engineering. All right. Empire Boulevard,
Jungle Pussy.
Curly Castro, produced by Willie Green. This one's interesting. Yeah, I think it's vibey too.
The engineer makes a track.
Yeah.
You know, he had to mix the whole album and get a track. Like, hey guys, look, I'm mixing this whole album for free. Can I get a track? Willie Green.
He's got his foot in a lot of Armand Hammer projects with production too. I don't know. I like the contrast between kind of the chorus sections of the track where the drums come in and it's curly. I'm not exactly sure what any of that shit means. He's got lines like Jew or Gentile on there, and now they got their own style. And yeah, I'm not sure what any of all of it means. And I haven't listened with the intention of trying to unpack it in any like particular way, but it's a fucking jam.
I do also appreciate that like every Billy Woods release has some kind of like dance hall dub reggae type moment on here, and you know, especially Castro on the hook is just such a dance hall like selector MC kind of moment. It's pretty different to the rest of the record in that respect. It's almost poppy to an extent, you know, with the way that so many artists now or over the last decade or so have been incorporating these sort of dancehall drum patterns into their music. And you know, and that's something that you do see on here. I feel deeply guilty because I do have the Rap Genius page up, so I can look at the lyrics real quick. And of course, there is a shot on this track on Woods' verse. SMH Rap Genius Improbable Readings. Yet the god's penis left her docile. Out the ashes of Black Phoenix. Which, yeah, our interpretations of all of these could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
Once again, shout out to drums, guys. Let's just be honest. Like the whole back end of this album are just slappity bappers. Shout out to drums. Like seriously, the album comes to life on the back end. And once again, it's beautiful, guys. Thank you for listening, Billy.
This song sounds incredible if you play it really fucking loud. Well, it sounds incredible either way, but this is when you want to. It's like Trauma, Mike. You just want to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to blast it bump it so hard. Lots of dubby rhythms and reverb all over this one. It just sounds amazing. I prefer this Jungle Pussy feature to the previous one.
Same.
I love her.
I'm not super familiar with her. I've got to get more hip. People have been telling me to pay more attention, but half the time I'll be just listening to the albums that we're reviewing multiple times to try to get my thoughts together. But yeah, I need to pay more attention to her.
Yeah, I listen to albums after y'all review them. I'm like, I disagree with all you guys' reviews.
You think Curly or Cavalier had the better verse on this album?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
He gonna say Cavalier.
Cavalier. I mean, I love Curly too, but yeah, Cavalier's just fucking freaks it. Yeah. Handheld Obelisk, come on, man. Put that up against what Nas was saying or fucking Master Ace and Raw Digger. I got the Handheld Obelisk all day. Shout out to Castro though. I like Curly Castro quite a bit. Yeah. I'll be arguing with him in my head when I listen to fucking Call Out Culture podcast.
What?
I was gonna shout out his podcast. I was just looking it up. There you go. Yeah.
Call Out Culture.
Alaska.
Shout out to Alaska, Zilla Rocca, and Curly Castro. Friends of the show. Don't Lose Your Job. Pink Seafood, More Mother, produced by Black Noise and Jeff Markey.
More Mother can do no wrong.
What's that?
No wrong. More Mother can do no wrong.
Oh, yeah, she's amazing.
They're incredible.
They're amazing. Yeah, I'm glad you said that right as I said. Fixed it. They are amazing. They're amazing.
I was get out my yoga mat when More Mother's shit came on. I was like, let's do this.
Beautiful. She's so they're so mesmerizing. Yeah, they're so mesmerizing. And I think this is the first time that Black Noise has got a track on an Armand Hammer album. But Black Noise is amazing as well. Yeah, Jeff Markey too. His project earlier this year with Sketch 185.
Nothing for the swing
Yeah,
back.
it's
Yeah.
super dope. Yeah,
Friend of the show. Like,
yeah, shout out to Jeff Markey, man. Out here
Shout
doing
out
big
Jeff
things,
Markey,
man,
yeah.
and making good beats. Yeah, Jeff.
pay a little $25 and shut the fuck up. Shit is hard. Yeah,
This beat is phenomenal.
yeah. That beat is incredible. Yeah.
Jeff holding his own out here in this track making schemes like dead ass. Keep doing your thing, Jeff. I'm a fan.
Yeah, amazing. Could only come on her stomach, stubborn, bomb vest, but nothing happened when I pressed the button.
Such a dark line. I love it.
Yeah,
Could hear the distant birds and falling leaves. You couldn't tell me nothing. Man, Woods. Yeah. Nothing happened when I pressed the button. Crazy. Yeah. What about Supermoon? DJ Haram and Elucid produced this one. I don't have much notes on this one, actually. Yeah.
Beautiful beat.
This is like another one of those like Woods kind of relationship joints a little bit. He's like, I don't know if I can call him Woods relationship joints, but whenever he gets into like his kind of dealings with his personal life and relationships with women, I feel like, yeah. Word, Woods. I can't put this on a mixtape for my my wife or my old girlfriends or nothing, but word, Woods.
Yeah, I got stumped on this one for sure.
Yeah.
This one's tough.
It's a filler.
I like the contrast between DJ Haram's beat on Trauma Mike and this though. I think it's great. I think that's great.
It's a filler track. I mean,
the piano at the end is really wonderful.
I do think this track does serve to an extent as a, not necessarily an epilogue, but it does kind of link the closest to Haram of the tracks on the album. Obviously, DJ Haram on production, but also, Elucid dealing with these kind of, the principalities, these structures of power that you have in play. And, I think culture, power, identity, all kind of very, the principal themes of the Haram record, all kind of come back into focus over here. Yeah, in that respect, I think it's pretty cool. There's because so much of the album looks back to paraffin, brass, shrines, and then you got this one here, which very much feels like a reintroduction or a follow-up to what you saw on the Haram record.
Word. Switchboard, produced by Seb Bash. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that person.
No, likewise.
I'm not.
But I really like the track. That last Woods like outro verse is one of my favorites on the album. Where he's like raking leaves in the evening, smoke a little weed in the back of the trees where they can't seeing my breath leaving, fingers freezing. I swear there used to be different seasons. A voice said you're pretending to be grieving and chuckled. When I was little, I leaped in the deep end and struggled alone with the sun reaching. It's one of those really poetic vignettes of a Woods experience that would maybe be like mundane or uninteresting if you were to tell somebody about it in your own typical language, but Woods is able to frame it in this kind of almost like dreamlike,
which also contrasts really nicely with the bodily physicality of Elucid's verse on here. So much of the Elucid verse like connects to these body parts. It's very physical, it's very fleshy. Universe, stars at the feet, time dragging one's feet, right? What's the bar? Body to inhabit, remind me when I calm down, suck me when I wake, a little different through another's eyes, burning, breathing deeper, wiping my saliva, who's that peeking through my eye slit? It's very bodily. It's almost like you have the body being inhabited by Elucid and the soul being inhabited by Woods in that respect. Almost like a callback to the you know, the Voltron Wu-Tang like body parts. You know, each member
word.
occupies a different part of this Father, Son, Holy Spirit that makes up Armand Hammer.
Word. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I that Woods versus
face behind the mask, behind the face.
I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude.
Shout out to Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, I didn't get all that from that, man, but yo, what you got from that is beautiful. So I'm just gonna roll with that.
Yeah,
I think this might be this might be the most complex beat on the project. Like I was really like listening to this one on headphones, and it's got this like gentle barrage of like phone ringing, scanning, bleep signals, and then the drums. You notice the drums fade in and out of the beat in like very strange ways. It's a little disorienting, along with the layers and sounds and noises. It's very cool though. It sounds very cinematic, almost reminds like a horror movie, like soundtrack or something.
Good soundscape,
like
yeah.
Yeah, and then I also love that like as Elucid raps his verse, the song kind of just like out of nowhere like develops into this very soulful melodic thing. And then you get back to like the Soulquarian kind of like Badu, Outcast kind of like vocals come in, like chorusy vocals. And it sounds like something you could hear on To Pimp a Butterfly, like one of the most like one of the more experimental tracks there too. So I don't know. I don't know who Sebash. I don't know who Sebash is, but this is a very like this is a multi-layered beat. Like you could listen to it over and over and over. Very multi-dimensional.
You know, the first time when I was listening to headphones, I didn't really. But the first time I was like, this is pretty all right. But as I played it on the speakers in my studio a few times, I was like, man, this is something special is going on here. Yeah. The next song, The Key is Under the Mat, produced by JPEG Mafia. I love this one.
Oh yeah,
I love this
is
one.
One of my favorites on the album too.
Yeah, something about this is like the beat. See, I got hung up and spent a couple hour detour in the Muslim Gods catalog because I felt like I heard something about this beat just reminded me of something that I've heard before, almost as like a direct sample pool. So I spent a few hours listening to Muslim Gods, and you know he's prolific. Even in death, they've released another 20 albums from him. But I was looking through his whole like late 80s, 90s catalog, and I couldn't find it. But I was thinking maybe it reminded me of a Muslim Gods beat, or maybe like Lou Kid or somebody of that production kind of range. But I love that beat. That I don't even have any of the lyrics on it because I just vibe with that beat so much. This is definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. Doesn't sound like a JPEG Mafia beat to me, but it's amazing.
Also part of his flexibility is for all of JPEG Mafia's emphasis on texture and layers, the samples and sort of finding order in the chaos, which feels like a descendant of like the Bomb Squad style. JPEG Mafia is also really, really good at chords. And there's just a really like pretty chord sequence that goes through this whole thing. It's kind of almost reminds me of like James Blake or a more kind of electronic kind of soulful thing. Which works quite in contrast with the roughness of the vocals on here. Elucid, throughout the whole record, it must be said, kind of almost sounds out of breath on a lot of the tracks, even though he has like excellent breath control. Elucid's like always got this urgency and this kind of barely contained fury under the surface of his vocal delivery. But on here, he's across the whole album, I feel like he's a little softer. He's not whispering by any means, but he's not exactly like yelling at you in the way that he does in a lot of his solo work.
That's a good point.
I think it's the evolution of his flow though and his cadence. And I would say this is a great way to end the album. You started off good and you ended it off great. Like even the theme of the keys under the mat, so you can always get your way in. Like this is a great way of like wrapping up this album. Like, hey, a lot of the complex themes of socialism and stuff that you guys and Marxism that you guys like, that really peaked out in the Haram album. Like you could see that praxis, like stuff like that. But this was a good like key under the mat. Like this is your way in to get into that because you didn't beat me over the head with these themes. But there are a bunch of like Marxist themes, and since I've been friends with you guys, that I'm like, okay, I can rock with that because I'm not so married as a capitalist. I'm not so married to capitalism that I can't hear the critiques of capitalism and be like, okay, well, this needs to change. But this album is a great way if you want to get somebody like me on your side. This is how you do it. You bring it in, you leave the key on the mat, open the door. Whenever you're ready to get in, dog, it's there. So, yo, good job for you guys like on this album. Very damn good job.
Yeah. It's a great bookend to the album, opening with JPEG and ending it with this. It really does make, I mean, who knows if the sequencing was different, how it feel, but it feels like a full, cohesive, well thought out and meticulously crafted project that first listen, I didn't pick up how intentional everything seemed to feel and how meticulous it was. It kind of felt a little bit disjointed, but man, the album just emerged and flourished and flowered in a really special way. Like, it's a really good Armand Hammer album to press play on that first track and let it ride all the way through for me. Whereas I don't think I will say that about necessarily all their other projects, but this one's really good.
And given its length, it doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't feel its length, but it wasn't a slog at any point to get through.
Not when you get to the back end. No, not at all. But this is no one in the hood, G.
How long is it? Is this like an hour?
Yeah. It's a little under an hour, yeah.
It is like
53 minutes.
53 minutes, yeah. 52
Well, some of the songs could have been shorter out if you took away the intros. Just going to be honest. Like,
there were like phone skits and stuff that we didn't really touch on, and some of the things that were saying in the skits, and I'm not exactly sure how they add to the album.
They do. They add a lot to it. Like the part the girl trying to get it off. Like, yo, she got what you need to get off. That goes the theme with the whole like selling underground products and trying to get into this capitalist system and trying to get your product off. That's like the ethos of America is hustle, hustle, grind, grind. Looking for the next come up. I'm gonna do something illegal and sketchy to get this money and flip it, bro. Like the skits hit on that, and it really, really worked. I was like, okay, this is the first time. Well, you know me, I don't like skits in my music. I really don't. But this is the first time I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense, buddy. Yeah.
She can still move anything you give her.
Still move anything you give her.
Right, yeah. It's wild to have like
every skit is also like a phone call too. That's the other thing. Like we're used to Woods
landlines
throwing in like movie quotes or like from an obscure documentary about like colonialism. We're used to those kinds of like things, or like a Jimmy Baldwin thing. But this is all phone skits. Remind like Fly Sifu, you know that album? That's all phone skits too, but very different.
Yeah, word. Well, we've got according to my little recording button, we've got like 6 minutes left before my free use of StreamYard ends. I do want to ask, like, what 3 favorite songs on the album, if you had to choose?
Jet?
Sure. Flexible unreliability of time. Y'all can't stand right here. Key is under the mat.
I'm gonna roll with niggardly. The gods must be crazy.
Damn, why you say it like sorry, go ahead.
The gods may be crazy. And it's a toss-up between Don't Lose Your Job and The Keys Under the Mat. So I'm gonna say The Keys Under the Mat. I'm just gonna do that. So The Keys Under the Mat, niggardly, and The Gods Must Be Crazy. That's my 3.
I'm gonna go Switchboard and Don't Lose Your Job and Flexible Unreliability of Time Memory.
I like when it doesn't start with a kiss, The Key Is Under the Mat, and I Keep a Mirror in My Pocket.
Keep a mirror in my pocket as well. Yeah. I want to put Woke Up and Ask Siri I'm gonna die in there too. But like great album. Really great.
I definitely could give you guys 5 of my favorites.
Can I say this though? This is weird because this album is like the Mega All Stars. Like everybody that Mega be trying to champion and be like, hey, Spade, listen to. It seems like all the Mega All Stars got on this album. Like people that I don't even like. The Prodigies I didn't like. I had like bad things to say. Like the Soul Glow album, I didn't like the Soul Glow album, but I think the homie works well on this album. So like good job, like putting this whole project together and just getting people in this sphere that I don't think match with this, man. It's almost like y'all listening to a Secret House Against the World. I'm saying.
I heard they met through Danny Brown, Soul Glow, and the Woods family or whatever. They played
Danny Mega.
Hey, he black and Filipino too. Shout out.
Yeah.
No, yeah, man. I definitely didn't expect the album discussion would be about 2 hours, but
I'm sure some of our listeners
somebody might appreciate it.
That's what happens when you invite guests on, man.
I guess so, right? Yo, Jamil, give us the rundown where to. First, I want to thank you as always. We're always down to collab. If you ever want to hop on and do some more album discussions,
give him a podcast, Jamil,
on ours or on your endeavor. Let's do it anytime. But can you give us a rundown where you're at? And I'll obviously put the link in the bio. But
yeah, just that Sonic Cloth, Instagram, Twitter, podcast places. That's pretty much it. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. I love talking to you guys.
Hey,
anytime.
And yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. Yeah. I'll end it here.
We'll take a shout out to our Patreons. Shouts out to Caltrops Press, who's inevitably going to write something incredible about this album.
Yeah, probably.
Shouts out to Noname Book Club. And shouts out to you if you managed to sit through the whole 2 hours of this conversation.
Yeah, we've got a few.
As soon as I can.
Shout out to Elucid's Calves. Can't forget about those
sticky buns.
That's the money shot right there. Yeah.
Shouts out to
the sticky buns.
Shouts out to Face Sitting. Jungle Pussy, call me.
Yeah.
I'll be in Japan, guys, soon. I'm just got
when you coming back?
We'll be back soon.
Just got to work some things out with the family, man. But
okay,
once we get that, I'll be back.
Tight.
Yes, AJ Sway, I'm still part of the group.
Yeah.